Many hikers rely on technology to stay oriented and to prevent them from becoming lost. What happens when that technology lets them down? By their batteries dying or their GPS malfunctioning? Three skills help me while working as an exploration geologist in remote parts of the world. Directional awareness, knowing which way north is all the time. Location awareness, having a mental picture of where important points are in relation to where I was. And capability awareness, knowing what I could do and what I couldn't do. Using these skills, I worked in the jungles of Central America, the Andes Mountains, and the deserts of Arizona without getting lost. I was looking for the big gold strike, first for the mining company and later for myself.
Hi, I'm Louis Vega from the website wildernesscommonsense.com, and we're in the beautiful Ozark Mountains of north central Arkansas. We're on a fire break located in the Dead Bear Farm homestead of a good friend, Gary Yoakum. We're here to test the premise that vegetation can be used as directional indicators to keep a person oriented while they're in the woods.
The Ozarks, also known as Ozark Mountains, Ozark Highlands, or Ozark Plateau, have their highest point at over 2,500 feet in the Boston Mountains of Arkansas. Geologically, the Ozarks are a large dome, pushed up by the collision of the North and South American continental plates during the Pennsylvanian geologic period. Erosion of the dome has resulted in river meanders that make the rivers, such as the Buffalo, appear to flow in circles. The gently rolling hills are covered with thick forests of deciduous trees and dense underbrush. The rivers are a playground for canoeists and kayakers, and the dense foliage is perfect for wildlife. Hikers can use directional indicators provided by nature to maintain their orientation as to which way is north. In the Basin and Range region of the American Southwest, we use topography, vegetation, and even individual plants to stay oriented. Below are two pictures of individual plants, a Joshua tree and a barrel cactus. These plants can be used as directional indicators in the desert. Now we are testing our premise in the Ozarks. The topography in the Ozarks is difficult to use as a directional indicator because the drainage has a complex origin. The rivers meander as if they were on flat terrain. Erosion of the dome has formed hollows and valleys that are controlled by faults and differences in the erosional resistance of the rocks. We got no help from topography in staying oriented other than the fact that several major rivers flow from west to east and minor creeks flow from south to north and north to south into the major rivers, depending on which side of the river you are on. Such is the case of the Buffalo River. Here you see a topographic map of the Buffalo River. The main flow of the river is from west to east, but as you can see, there are so many meanders that locally it can be very confusing as to the direction. On the south side of the river, the tributary streams flow from south to north. On the north side of the river, the streams flow mainly from north to south. We also didn't find good directional indicators from the vegetation. The vegetation is too dense and sunlight is dispersed by the leaf canopy to allow plants to focus their growth in a particular direction. However, there are plants that prefer the north and northeast sides of ridges, such as the ginseng plant. The only good indicator we found was the scaly bark hickory. In this picture, you see a scaly bark hickory where the scales on the right side of the picture are much more pronounced than the ones on the left side. You see prominent scales curling upward. On the other side of the tree, it's much more smooth, although there are scales. North is toward the smooth side of the tree.
This is a great example of a scaly bark hickory tree. The camera angle is directly due south of the trunk, so the scales show the most prominent curve upward to the southwest of the tree. As you can see over in this area, the scales are really extended. Walking down the fire break, it doesn't appear to be any way to become oriented as to which way is north, because essentially there's forest all around. But if you pick out the scaly bark hickory as the one directly in front, you'll notice the scales on it. And the south side of the tree, which is to the left of the viewer, the scales are much more prominent and are curled up further than the scales on the north side of the tree. So just by picking out scaly bark hickories, you can use them as directional indicators and stay oriented as you hike.
Moss isn't a good directional indicator. Here we found a tree with moss on the southeast side because of the moisture available due to the dense foliage. Moss grows where it's wet and isn't related to the location of the sun, so it is not a reliable indicator. Before starting your hike, review a map to formulate an awareness of the area you'll be hiking. Using the Tyler Bend area of the Buffalo River as an example, make a mental figure of the location of important points. Highway 65, County Road 241, the Buffalo River, the direction of flow of tributary streams. The general form is a rough polygon with the tributary streams flowing in a north direction. Capability awareness. The greatest challenge to travel in the Ozark forest is the dense undergrowth. Windfalls and vines make hiking off-trail challenging. Also, there are cliffs and steep drop-offs along the river's edge and prominent hills. USGS, or United States Geologic Survey topographic maps, identify areas of dense vegetation using green shading and open areas with less vegetation in white. In this way, you can see where dense vegetation could make hiking difficult. In summary, to avoid becoming lost in the Ozark Mountains, use the 3 skills I learned as an exploration geologist working in remote parts of the world. Directional awareness. Use the scaly bark hickory to keep oriented as to where north is. Location awareness. Before going on a hike, use maps to identify what side of the major river you're on and what direction the minor streams flow in your area of interest. And capability awareness. Use topographic maps with indication of vegetation to identify areas with dense foliage that would be an impediment to travel.